Okay, so picture this. You're going through those old photo albums. You know, the ones with the family vacation pics.
Yeah, yeah.
The kind we used to put up on Facebook before things got a little too crazy online.
Right.
And you see all those smiles, all the beautiful places, and you think, wow, what a happy family.
Mm-hmm.
But then imagine finding out that one of them is accused of trying to hire someone to kill the other one.
It's like something out of a movie, right? Like a made-for-TV drama. But it's actually what's going on in this case of Lindsay and Robert Shiver.
Yeah, and that's what we're diving into today, this wild story. We're going to look at all kinds of stuff. Court documents, news reports, even going through some social media posts.
The whole 9 yards.
Trying to figure out how this marriage went so wrong and how things escalated to this alleged murder-for-hire plot.
Allegedly.
So yeah, buckle up because this is going to be a twisty one.
What really gets me about this is how different their public image was compared to the stuff that was supposedly going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's like looking at two completely different pictures.
Totally.
So to get started, let's paint a picture of the Shivers' life before all this went down. We're talking former college football star, beautiful stay-at-home mom, 3 kids, a $2.5 million house in Georgia, and another fancy vacation home in the Bahamas.
From the outside looking in, they were living the American dream, right? Robert had a successful career. Lindsay was involved in the community and all over social media. They seemed to have it all: the vacations, the private jet, the perfect life, all documented online.
Yeah, this is the kind of life a lot of people dream of, all the fancy stuff and looking successful.
For sure.
But behind all that, a whole other story was unfolding. In April 2025, Robert filed for divorce, and the documents painted a very different picture.
That's when things started to unravel. Robert said in the filing that Lindsay had been cheating on him, and that was the reason for the divorce. And it got messy, really fast accusations going back and forth.
Yeah, this was not one of those quiet celebrity splits.
No way.
Lindsay fired back, saying that if she did anything, it was after they were already separated. She also claimed Robert had been abusive physically and emotionally, even in front of their kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it suddenly made Robert look like a different guy. Not the charming athlete and successful businessman anymore, but someone who was violent and cruel.
So now we're getting 2 very different sides of the story. Makes you think about who is really the victim here.
It's like we're getting 2 totally opposite versions of reality.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to look at all sides and not make judgments too quickly.
Exactly. And things took an even crazier turn when the police in the Bahamas were looking into a break-in at a bar and found some pretty incriminating evidence.
This where it turns into a true crime thriller, right? They were investigating a normal burglary, and they decided to look through the phone of one of the employees, Terrence Bethel.
And they found more than just some text messages. It was a bunch of WhatsApp messages that looked like a plan to kill Robert. And to make things even more complicated, it turned out Terrence was the guy Lindsay was allegedly having an affair with.
Talk about a tangled web. This is getting intense.
Yeah, and the messages were bad. One even had a picture of Robert with the caption, "Kill him."
Whoa.
The whole thing went from a messy divorce to a possible criminal conspiracy. The stakes were suddenly much higher, and everyone was talking about it.
You can say that again?
It wasn't just a couple getting divorced anymore. It was a sensational murder-for-hire plot happening in paradise. And to add to it, both Lindsay and Robert were in the Bahamas at the same time when all this was happening.
Really? Separately?
Separately, yeah. Makes you think that there was more going on than anyone knew.
Definitely a suspicious coincidence.
Right. And of course, Lindsay getting arrested set off a media frenzy. Reporters were all over the Bahamas trying to get the inside scoop on this perfect family falling apart.
It's understandable. We all love those stories that make us question what's real, especially when it's about people who seem to have everything.
Absolutely. And as the media dug deeper, all kinds of rumors and conflicting stories started popping up, just adding fuel to the fire.
Totally. There were rumors about surveillance footage from Robert's parents' house in the Bahamas. They supposedly had cameras and caught Lindsay and Terrence doing drugs and, being intimate.
I gotta say, the idea of someone putting cameras in their own house to spy on their son's wife is pretty creepy.
It's definitely weird. Makes you think about how much trust there was in that family. And remember, these are just rumors at this point. But if they're true, it looks like Lindsay was living a double life, totally different from her social media persona.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that things aren't always what they seem, especially online.
So true. So do we think this alleged footage had anything to do with the marriage falling apart or the murder-for-hire plot?
It's a good question. Maybe Lindsay's actions pushed Robert too far, Or maybe this was just the result of built-up resentment. We'll have to keep digging to figure out what their motives were.
It's like a puzzle with a lot of missing pieces.
And then there were reports that Lindsay's parents saw this footage and cut her off financially.
That's interesting. It sounds like even her family was shocked by what she was allegedly doing and had to distance themselves.
Yeah, and if Lindsay was having money problems, especially with Robert trying to deny her alimony, that could be a motive for her alleged actions.
Money problems can make people do crazy things, for sure.
But Lindsay's lawyers denied all that. They said she wasn't motivated by money, but by the stress and frustration of a bad marriage. They said Robert was abusive.
So now they're saying it was Robert's fault that Lindsay did all this, that she was just trying to escape a dangerous situation.
It's a he said, she said situation. It's hard to know what the truth is. But no matter what happens in court, this whole thing has caused a lot of damage.
For sure, it's a mess.
And you can't forget about the human cost of this whole thing, especially for their 3 boys. They're stuck in the middle of this public and messy separation.
It's so sad to think about the impact this is having on them. Their lives have been turned upside down because of their parents' choices.
It's a good reminder that behind all the headlines and drama, there are real people whose lives have been changed forever. Absolutely. We'll be back after a quick break to dig deeper into this case. There's one thing that really stood out to me as we were looking into this case. Lindsay's appearance changed a lot in the months before she was arrested. People were saying she'd lost a lot of weight.
Oh, yeah, the internet was full of theories about that. Some people thought it was because of the drugs, connecting it back to that alleged footage from Robert's parents' house. Others said it was just stress from the divorce, or maybe she just changed her lifestyle.
It just shows how quick people are to judge based on looks without thinking about all the other stuff that could be going on.
It's easy to get caught up in the gossip and forget that we're talking about real people with real problems.
Yeah.
We got to separate the facts from all the rumors.
Totally. Stick to the evidence.
So while Lindsay was waiting for her hearing in the Bahamas, Terrence, the guy she was allegedly having an affair with came forward and denied everything.
Interesting. What did he say?
He said the messages were taken out of context, that they never actually planned to hurt Robert.
He even said they were in love, and he was sure the charges would be dropped.
That's a pretty bold statement, considering how serious the accusations are.
If it was just harmless venting, like they're saying, why were they both arrested and charged with such serious crimes?
Good point. It seems like the police must have had more evidence than just those messages.
It doesn't seem likely they would go this far without believing a crime was actually being planned.
So that brings us back to the question of motive. If Lindsay really was part of a plot to hurt Robert, what was her reason?
Well, we've talked about the money problems she might have faced because of the divorce. If she was the one who cheated, it could have meant she wouldn't get any alimony from Robert.
That's true. And if those rumors about her parents cutting her off are true, that adds to the financial motive.
But Lindsay's lawyers completely denied that. They said she wasn't driven by money at all, but by the emotional stress and the abuse she claims she suffered in her marriage.
So now they're blaming Robert, saying he's the reason she did all this.
It's a classic he said, she said situation.
Yeah.
We've got 2 sides of the story, and it's impossible to know for sure what really happened. But no matter what happens in court, this whole thing has had a huge impact on everyone involved.
Especially their 3 sons. They're the innocent victims in all of this.
It's hard to imagine what they're going through. Their whole world has been turned upside down.
And then there's the bail hearing. It just added another layer of weirdness to this whole thing.
Yeah, even though Lindsay kept saying she was innocent and the messages were nothing serious, her behavior in court seemed to tell a different story.
What do you mean?
Well, people who were there said she was crying during the hearing, but then they also saw her whispering and smiling with Karens.
Really?
It made some people question if she was really sorry for what happened.
That's strange. Crying and smiling in a courtroom where you're facing serious charges? It's not exactly the behavior you'd expect from someone who claims they're innocent.
It adds to the mystery of it all, trying to figure out what she's really thinking.
So what happened at the bail hearing?
She was granted bail, but with a lot of conditions. She had to give up her passport, wear an ankle monitor, and check in with the authorities 3 times a week.
Sounds serious.
It shows how seriously they're taking these charges, even though she says she's innocent. They clearly think she might try to run away.
Makes sense. And of course, the media was all over it, following her every move.
Oh yeah, cameras everywhere, capturing every expression, every interaction. It must have been overwhelming to have your whole life on display like that, with everyone watching and judging you.
While Lindsay was dealing with all that in the Bahamas, Robert was back in Georgia taking care of their 3 kids on his own.
Can you imagine the pressure he was under? Trying to deal with the betrayal, the threat to his own life, and then having to protect his kids from all the drama.
It's a lot for anyone to handle.
And then we found out that Robert had actually hired a private investigator to follow Lindsay before all this happened.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, apparently the investigator got photos of Lindsay and Terrence together, which Robert used in the divorce case.
So he suspected she was cheating and wanted proof. It makes you wonder if this investigation played a part in everything falling apart.
Maybe he confronted her with the photos. Maybe it just made things worse between them. It's like the trust was already gone long before the Bahamas.
It's a sad story. It shows how quickly things can spiral out of control.
It makes you wonder why Lindsay didn't just get a divorce if she was unhappy.
That's a question a lot of people have. Maybe she was worried about the money. Maybe she was trying to protect her image.
In Georgia, if she was the one who cheated, she might not have got much money from the divorce. And if her parents really did cut her off, that would have made things even harder.
Money problems can drive people to do desperate things.
Or maybe she was just trying to keep up appearances, pretending everything was fine because she didn't want people to know what was really going on.
People do that all the time. They're afraid of what others will think, so they hide their problems and pretend everything's perfect.
It's a reminder that what we see on social media isn't always the whole story. It's important to be kind and understanding because you never know what someone else is going through. Makes you think about how well you can really know someone, even people you're close to.
Yeah, you never really know what's going on behind closed doors. It's a good reminder to talk things out and find healthy ways to deal with problems in a relationship. Because when you just bottle everything up, it can explode in a bad way.
It's a tough lesson for sure. So while Lindsay was fighting her case in the Bahamas, things back in Georgia took a turn. Robert filed a motion to change their custody agreement. He wanted sole custody of their 3 sons.
Well, that makes sense given the situation. Lindsay was facing charges and had to stay in the Bahamas, so Robert was the only one taking care of the kids.
Exactly. And in his motion, he said that because of Lindsay's arrest and the whole criminal investigation, she was a danger to their kids, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
So even though she hadn't actually been found guilty of anything, the accusations were serious enough for the court to worry about the kids' safety?
Yeah, it put the court in a tricky spot. They had to protect the kids, but also remember that Lindsay was still innocent until proven guilty.
Tough call. It's a balance between keeping the kids safe and respecting the rights of the accused parent.
And to make things even more complicated, it came out that Robert had hired a private investigator to follow Lindsay before all of this happened.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, the investigator got photos of Lindsay and Terrence together, and Robert used those photos in the divorce case.
So he already suspected something was up and was looking for proof. It makes you wonder if that investigation made things worse between them.
Maybe he confronted her with the photos. Maybe it just added to the tension. It seems like their relationship was already falling apart before the whole Bahamas thing.
It's like a house of cards just waiting for one thing to knock it all down.
One thing that keeps coming up for me is, why didn't Lindsay just file for divorce herself if she was so unhappy?
It's a good question. We can't know for sure what was going through her head, but there are a few possibilities.
What are you thinking?
Well, we talked about the financial side of things. If she was the one who cheated, she might have lost out on a lot of money in the divorce. And remember the rumors about her parents cutting her off? That could have been a big factor.
Yeah, money can be a powerful motivator.
For sure. Another possibility is that she was trying to keep up appearances. She wanted to project this image of a perfect family, even though things were a mess behind closed doors.
It's that whole social media thing. People put so much effort into showing everyone how great their lives are, even if it's all fake.
It's a reminder that we never really know what's going on with other people. We need to be kind and understanding because everyone's fighting their own battles.
This whole case is a cautionary tale. Things aren't always what they seem. And even the most perfect-looking lives can be hiding some dark secrets.
It makes you think about the people in your own life and what they might be going through.
It's a reminder to check in on each other, offer support, and be there for the people we care about.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Shiver case. If you found this as fascinating as we did, be sure to subscribe to the deep dive for more explorations of real-life stories and intriguing mysteries.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.